Hey guys, welcome to the first ever AD English Q&A. I'm going to try and do this in, well, 2 takes because I'm crazy, but maybe 3 takes depending. Though it's going to require some editing either way, especially because I've added a new feature to this and I'm probably going to hate it when I watch it back, but I'll try it. The new feature looks like this in the bottom left-hand corner. Hello, this is me. I'm talking to you directly. I probably will change my mind and decide that I want to edit this because I'm not very good at looking at a camera on a computer. I don't really like doing it apart from when I'm teaching because then it's nice and obvious and clear to me because I'm quite used to talking like this when I'm teaching. But when I'm making videos, it's a little bit weird, it's a little bit confusing. So I'm going to be going on and off the screen, so my eyes are going to wander and it's going to be a little bit difficult to watch, I think. But I'll watch it back and see if it's not too bad. If it's not too bad, I'll stick to this format. But anyway, I had quite a lot of questions posed to me in the last week that I asked originally to give me some questions, and I have quite a few of them listed here on Discord. I'm looking at Discord now, that's why my eyes are down. I don't know why I'm explaining it, it's pretty clear. I'm going to do my best to answer all of the questions that are here in the time I've allowed myself to make this video. And we'll start at the start. The first question is from Zvaho, and he asked me, first of all, what do I think of Legendary Edition? Well, as I have the game open, I can give a brief breakdown as to what I think about Legendary. Overall, I think it's actually pretty much the same. Of course, the new things that are involved are the Eternal League. I have been having a go at the Eternal League. First time it was bugged, apparently it's fixed though, but I'm on round 7 of 7, so I'll find out if it is fixed anytime soon. The AI still suck. No surprise, I guess. They're arguably better than they were in some regards, but actually they're easier to beat now than they were before, so that's kind of a shame. I can't ever see a chance where the AI will actually win a game anymore, because they don't take enough risks. Maybe if you drop down the difficulty level, they're a little bit better. In terms of the new teams in general, of course, they're all a lot of fun. I've had a hell of a lot of fun with ogres, especially a 1 ogre build. That's been great fun. And I do want to say very briefly, when I'm here, the Mad Academy are currently running an all-Gnoblar league, which is kind of funny. Every team is only comprised of Gnoblars. This is my team here. And we're going to play in, I guess, a knockout, though it hasn't been decided yet. And as you can see, I've named my guys all the numbers, and lucky, because, well, I'm not superstitious at all, but a lot of people are, so I like to play on that. And the new features, like the camera, I haven't really played enough around with, and new features otherwise, some of them I really like, some of them not so much. In general, I'm pretty impressed with the addition of Legendary, but there's still way too many bugs to say for certain. One thing I do really like is the extra balls, but I still really like this ribcage ball, and I plan to stick to it. I now realize that my picture is probably in the way of the ball, but still. That's the first question. Second question, what are your favorite races, and what do you think of streaming your game? Okay, 2 separates. What are my favorite races? I'm one of these weird coaches that plays literally everything. I don't think I have so much a favorite race. I do have a least favorite race. I have 2 least favorite races, actually. I really, really don't like Elven Union. They are by far the worst at the moment. And I also don't like Wood Elves. They're just 2 teams I'm bad at playing. It's not that I think there's anything wrong with them, I just can't play them. Everything else I play, and I love. If I had to pick a favorite, people are going to hate me, but actually I think my favorite is Amazons. I really like the team. And my biggest experience is, of course, with Orcs, though recently I've been playing them so badly, I don't think I can say they're my favorite team anymore. I'm quite a big fan of Chaos, and I like all of the Undead version teams. I like what they can do, basically. I especially like the fact that I can kill something and keep it. It's one of my favorites. I haven't had a chance to test yet. If someone could tell me, that would be great. But the Undead Alliance, Dead Collectors, the team I've created, the Afterlife United, the Necromancer wasn't working in the beta. I haven't had a chance to give them a go yet, but if anybody has had a chance, can you tell me if the Necromancer is working? If he is, then great. I look forward to playing with this team and getting zombies on a mixed undead race instead of just undead, instead of just necromantic, etc. But we'll see how that goes. And the following question, also Zvaho, we're not finished with him yet. What do you think of streaming your games on Twitch and having live games along with replays? I do, is the short form to that. I have a Mixer. I don't use Twitch, but I do have a Mixer account, and I do use it. At the moment, though, it's not an option. My wife is currently at home all the time with a broken leg, and there are times when I have to get up and help her, so I can't do live games at the moment. When she's recovered and when she's back in work, then by all means, I'll go back to playing live. But until then, just replays. And to be honest, I prefer the replays anyway. It's slightly less stressful, and if I am having a bad day, I can still have the game. Whereas if I'm playing live, I can't play if I'm having a bad day, you know? So, there's that. Because it's difficult to see... It's more difficult to see when I'm doing a replay than it is to see when I'm playing it live. I don't get salty really, but there are days when I'm not really in the mood to play, but I still have to play the game, so I prefer not to do those games live. Alright, moving on then, let's have a look at Squiggy. Squiggy had quite a few questions, and apparently there's more in the bank, so I look forward to hearing more of them. But let's see what he has. Let's go for his serious question first, I think. He's got two serious questions, actually. First question, you are well known for loving passing plays. What do you consider an acceptable risk to farm passing SPP when it's not a game-winning or saving pass? Right. I am well known as a passing coach, that is true. I'm a big fan of passing with every single team. I can pass with any piece that has the ability to do so. Also with pieces that don't have the ability to do so, but less commonly. However, the specific question was about farming SPP. And I don't, actually. I don't pass just to farm SPP, that's not something I do. The only time I think that is acceptable is a vanity pass on turn 8, turn 16. Otherwise, I suppose if you're elves as well, and you want to force a team to come towards you, you could be passing in the background, just picking up SPP as well. Having said that though, I don't think it's a good idea. I play passing plays very differently to the way that the majority of people play passing plays, where it's more about getting the one piece that has the ball to the other side of the pitch, basically. That's why I pass. And it's a way of switching the sides of the pitch, or it's the way of putting immense pressure on the opposition, that any times I really pass. I do often set it up so that's an option, and what always happens, because coaches don't really accept it, even coaches who play me a lot, they don't expect a passing play. Coaches send everything towards where the passing player is, and they ignore the piece that's going to catch. So what I can do is I can set up a defensive screen in front of my thrower. The opposition are all going to move to the one side to come and get them, and there's a piece that's hiding over there that can receive the ball. And in that case, passer runs back and passes it. It's the most common way that I play a passing game. Though I try to keep the thrower in range of the catcher at all points. So if they are going to run, there's not going to be more than 3 squares between them, ideally. Though sometimes, of course, I do have to pull off a crazy passing play, but that's when things have gone wrong, basically. If things are going right, that's always the idea. And when I'm playing as orcs especially, it's the play that I like to do, because everybody wants to defend against orcs in a straight line. So if you can get the ball to a goblin and run through a gap, there's not really much the opponent can do to stop you. And second serious question, who is the most difficult to beat opponent you've ever faced? I asked some follow-up questions. I asked race, coach, or both, and he said both. So I'll answer them all. I'll answer the two separately, I guess. So the most difficult race I think to beat is lizards, no matter what team I'm playing as, and no matter how good or bad the coaches are playing the team. For some reason, even a bad coach can do a lot of damage with a lizard team. So in general, I think lizardmen are the hardest team to beat, though dwarves are a close second, but the difference is that dwarves need a decent coach in order to be successful. If you are somebody who's new to dwarves, I'll beat you every time, but if you're somebody who has got a little bit of experience with dwarves, then it's quite difficult to beat them, if you're pretty good at positioning especially. Lizards though, you can have just the basic idea and you can still do a lot of damage, you can still potentially win, no matter what race I'm playing as. There are some races of course that have lizards as a neutral or even a good opponent, but generally speaking, lizards are always a difficult thing to break down. As are undead, actually. Undead can be quite difficult as well. So that's that question, and in terms of coach, there are a few. I think you yourself are one, sir, but I've only played you twice. So Squiggy is one coach that I haven't managed to beat yet. And to be honest, I think I could beat him if we had a... Well, I think there are situations where I could beat you, but generally speaking, it's always going to be a tough game. So even if I do beat you, it's going to be close. And we played 2 games. One was really tight, and one you completely whooped me. So, you know, I can't say much about that, really. And other than that, I find Smoko the hardest coach to beat, and I know that he's one of your Kryptonites as well. Smoko, I think I've played about 10 times now. I've only beaten him once, so that's a really good record. Then there are coaches like Urban Zorro, Fallen Glory, Undo, Ook, all these coaches that I've played many, many times. The main problem that comes when you play a coach that you know very well is that you know each other, and therefore you don't necessarily play a sensible, or you don't necessarily play a solid game. You play a slightly different game to try and counteract what the coach in question does. So Fallen Glory and Nobun Zoro especially, because I tend to do something a little bit silly when I'm playing against them. And Ook and Undo, I try to counteract their normal plays, and sometimes it backfires, of course. Sometimes it works, sometimes it backfires. I think with all 4 coaches I just mentioned, we have a pretty even record, so it's hard to say. Okay, that's it for Squiggy. Thank you, Squiggy, by the way, and thank you, Zvaho, I forgot to say that. Next up, we've got the question from D-Man. Okay then. If you could add your own faction to Blood Bowl, doesn't have to be Warhammer related even, like clowns for an example, nice example, what would it be? There are 2 races. There are 3 races actually I'd like to see in the team. I would like to see a team that does exist in the Warhammer universe but doesn't exist in Warhammer itself, it exists in Wartime. I'd quite like to see... Well, actually, I'd quite like to see a Sons and Daughters of Sigmar type team, where it's a mix of male and female, and they're kind of a bashy team as opposed to an agility team. It's nice that we have the Amazons that are an all-female and quick team, but I'd like to see some females that can really bash as well. And I think Sisters of Sigmar match this kind of playstyle. And if we also add the, what are they called? The Brotherhood of Sigmar, or the Priests of Sigmar. Somebody else knows. I'm not a great lore guy, to be honest. But this other side of Sigmar, if all of the Sigmarites are together, that would be an interesting team from the Warhammer universe. Outside of the Warhammer universe, though, I thought about this a little bit more. I would like to see a cat race team, and I would like to see a dog race team. It sounds kind of boring, doesn't it? But it's something I'd like to see. And I also can see it working in the functionality of the game. And this is going to sound like a joke, but I mean it relatively seriously. The dog team, I would like to have all catch. And they would be the automatic running and throwing team. And I say all catch because dogs play fetch. Honestly, that's my reasoning behind it. But it's not a joke, I'm quite serious. I'd like to see a team with all catchers, linemen included. They don't necessarily have to have other skills, but you can have a blitzer, a designated passer, a designated catcher as well. And they would have extra skills. The blitzer would have block, the thrower would have pass, of course, and the catcher would have some extra skills that can help it with dealing with catching in general, for example, like Nose of Steel. But yeah, I'd like to have a team of fetchers, basically. And the cat-like team is a bit more interesting because I think it would work better. The cat-like team, I would give the whole team sure feet, which means that basically they can GFI safely. I wouldn't give them dodge and block, etc., but I would give them sure feet. And then there can be some positionals as well. A blitzer that has sure feet and probably block, maybe something like sidestep as well. A runner, I would say, that has sure feet, sprint, and also has basic ability with a ball. Not sure what exactly, but maybe one more skill. And one more piece that has shadow, and that would be like an assassin but without stab, I guess. So they all have sure feet, a piece that also has shadow, a piece that also has a catch skill, sorry, and a piece that also has block. That would be my setup. 2 teams I'd like to add. Good. Okay, so I'm going to take some questions from the Rebel Rookie League that were kind of interesting and I wanted to put in, so because I didn't get all of them on my own channel. One of the questions that was interesting, there were 2 questions actually related to an Orc team, and I found them both quite interesting. If I have the money, should I buy the Orc Troll? No. That would be my basic answer, no. If you have the money and you want to add more to the team, you're probably better off buying linemen, to be honest, as opposed to the Troll. There is definitely use for a Troll, but I don't see him as a piece that is needed all the time, so I would never have one in my team roster. I think a Troll is a better piece that you induce, so if you are a team that is way down in TV against your opposition, that's the time when you get a Troll from the inducement phase. He has Luna anyway, so there's no downside to him being a mercenary as opposed to him being the actual real thing. The only reason I take him as an inducement as well is because a Troll is a real one-turn touchdown threat, because he can throw the Goblin right over the line and off you go. I would always have a Goblin in my roster, but I would never have a Troll. The only exception would be if you can afford Ripper as opposed to a Troll, then of course Ripper is the better choice. But that's the only time I would ever take an Orc Troll on an Orc team as an inducement. The second question that got kind of crazy in the advice section in general, though it's quite an interesting one, and one that I wanted to tackle on my own, as well as the way it's been tackled in the channel itself. When playing Orcs, and we're talking about the carrier, is it better to have a thrower in the team, or is it better to use a blitzer as the carrier? I can see the argument on both sides, but I'm very much the thrower is essential to an Orc team. The main way that an Orc team works is you have 4 blitzers, you have 4 Black Orcs, and they are your defensive front line and also your screen, and you need all 8 of them to realistically be a threat to score. What happens is you put the thrower bang smack in the middle of all of these big guys who hold everything off by keeping tight with 1 space or 2 space between each piece. And if you're using the blitzer to carry the ball, that means that you lose one of these 8 pieces, and 8 pieces makes a nice big square. Also, you can use them together to make very strong tackle zones, but if you're missing a blitzer, then you probably have to use a lineman, and a lineman isn't as good at this job. To be honest, I think a lineman is a better carrier than a blitzer. Yeah, I said that. But the only advantage, of course, of a blitzer is the movement. Blitzers can move further, so I much prefer to have a thrower as a ball carrier, but a handoff skill or a pass skill, a handoff or a pass play can happen later on, and the blitzer can take the ball off him. I like to score blitzers when I can, but I don't like using blitzers as a primary ball carrier. No. But it's an interesting topic. I just wanted to cover it very quickly. And frequently asked questions then. Let's go for that for a bit. So why the hell would you choose to play as Bretonnians? Let's find my Bretonnian team. Why would you choose to play as Bretonnians? There are a few reasons actually. One of the main reasons to play as Bretonnians, to be honest, is to set yourself a challenge, and you can learn a lot from this challenge. The Bretonnians are considered a very weak team, but I don't think they are. They're stronger than people give them credit. It's just that I find a lot of people play Bretonnians wrong. Let's say differently, let's not say wrong. I don't like saying that something is wrong. But a lot of people play Bretonnians very differently to the way that I play Bretonnians, and very differently to the way that Urban Zorro plays Bretonnians. I think we are 2 coaches that are... He's a coach that's good with Bretonnians, and I'm okay with Bretonnians. A lot of people play a fouling game using positionals that basically involve putting somebody down and dogpiling somebody who's in the middle of the pitch, giving up position completely. And I think this is a disaster for the Bretonnian team, and that's why you struggle to keep the score up and why you struggle to keep the numbers up even. If you're dogpiling a piece, you give up team position entirely, and what happens then is the opposition runs past you, and you have to scramble back to stop them. Whereas if you're playing a game where basically you use the knights and the airmen together in order to create a good screen, and the linemen are standing in the way of something big and annoying, or standing on something big and annoying, and you hope their armor doesn't break, this is usually a good way of doing things. The fend skill really helps as well, because it stops the opponent from moving forward where they want to, apart from when they blitz. And even when they blitz, they have to knock you down first and then decide which way to go. So if you set your team up pretty well, there's no gap for them to get through very easily, because there are always things in the way, including even peasants. Having said that though, there's a second way of playing it, and it's Urban Zorro's way of playing it, which is a heavy fouling game, but there's a big difference between fouling teams that you see and Urban Zorro's team. Urban Zorro's team is a peasant-heavy team, where he has just the one blitzer that does all of the work. He has a blocker that works as an assist, and he has all peasants. And when he's defending, basically, the peasants stand in the way, and same thing, it's very difficult to get through them because every single one of them has fend. When he's attacking, he will push his way up in one straight line, and knock down a piece, and foul it if he can. He doesn't foul every turn, though. He actually uses fouls really well. If you look for the very first video I made, it was the gold playoff between my Stumblers and his, what are they called? The conscripted peasants. And you can see him playing the peasant game very, very well. Bretonnians, as Bretonnians, they're not a very good team, but you can learn a lot from them, and if you're playing a positional game, you can really learn to improve your tactics and your strategy. So it's definitely worth playing as Bretonnians. Okay. Another frequently asked question, what is a good starting team pick? Now, this is more difficult than it sounds, actually, because the there is an obvious answer, and I do like the obvious answer. Let's get a friendly match, actually. I do like the obvious answer. The obvious answer is if you want to have a go at Bash, play Orcs. If you want to have a go at Agility, play Dark Elves. If you want to have a go at Hybrid, play Undead, and that's basically it. Go from there, whichever one you like. Play other teams that are similar. However, one thing that people seem to forget is that Undead is a DLC. So most coaches don't start with Undead. So what can you offer as a Hybrid instead? Well, not a lot is the basic answer. So I would actually break it down to simply try Orcs, try Dark Elves, see which is better, and go from there. That would be the basics. But overall, to be honest, I don't think there's any team that is a huge detriment to a starter. Depends what you want to do. I would actually recommend just trying something you like the look of. That's the best thing you can do. Even if you like ogres, if you like halflings, if you like goblins. They're pretty stupid teams, they do stupid things, but hell, you'll have fun playing as them, and that's what the game is all about. Though, if you want to learn how to play properly, and also have a good go with these things, then by all means try Orcs, try Dark Elves, try Undead if you have it. If you don't, try one of the mixed teams, see how it goes, if you have Legendary but you don't have the DLC. That would be my basic response to that. It's always my response whenever somebody says, what's the best team, who's your favorite team, etc, etc. Who should be your favorite team, sorry, etc, etc. It depends on your playstyle, it depends on what you like. If you're having fun, it's your best team. Simple as. Frequently asked question specific to the ICBBL. Why are you, and now Varkson, a cat when every other admin is a dog? There's a simple answer to that, really. I was a cat when I first joined Discord, and the picture is actually my cat. I think I'm the only... I know Varkson is his cat as well, actually. We're the only ones who actually have our own pet as our picture. So all of the dogs in the ICBBL, they're not actually the person's dog, they're just pictures of dogs. Whereas it's actually my cat, and it's actually Varkson's cat. And the reason I stayed as a cat was because when I first became an admin, the boardroom have this peer pressure thing where they try to force you to be a dog. They do it for days. And I refused the whole time. I actually was a dog for a couple of days, but I changed my mind. I went back to being a cat. So I was a cat anyway, and I'm also a cat despite the rest of the board. That's it. Also, I'm the evil one, so it makes sense I'm the cat. And another frequently asked question, how come you don't voice anymore when you're playing Blood Bowl? Same reason as why I'm not live, basically, because SEMA, and also generally at the moment the only time I can play is after 11 o'clock at night, so it's unfair on the neighbours, so I don't voice. If we're playing in the middle of the day, there's a chance I will voice, but any other time, no. It's too much, it's too likely to be a problem for the neighbours, so I don't do it. That's that. And I realise the background picture is still kind of annoying. Should maybe make myself a bit bigger. Ah well. Okay, so, Darth Physicist. Yes, I have a question. When lying down, how much paw massage is required, and do you turn left or right before lying down? Clockwise or counterclockwise coil? Yeah, good question, Darth. So, the paw massage, it depends entirely on the surface. If it's a soft surface, it requires quite a lot of paw massage because I need to make the surface as flat as possible. To help your human mind... Oh damn, I've given away I'm a human. To help your human mind, I would compare it to the foundation when you're laying a house. You start digging and digging and digging so you can make things as flat as possible. The paws work in the same way. When I'm on something really soft, unfortunately it means that I'm kind of all floppy like this. It's bad, bad cat. Whereas, you know, if I do as much pouring as possible, then I can make it flat and I can lie down. In terms of turning left, turning right, I always turn left. And before lying down, clockwise or counterclockwise coil, well, when I'm finally done, I'll show you a picture at the end what I look like when I'm finally done. I may even make it the main screen of this video. I probably will. It'll be the thumbnail for the video. What it looks like when I'm finally asleep. Okay. That's good. On to Undo. Undo was going to ask the same question about cat versus dog admin. And with Blood Bowl being a kind of niche game with a close-ish community, what is your real view about the community? What can we do to make it more appealing to new players? Right. That's a good question, especially with the way that the Steam community tends to go when questions are asked. To be honest, I think that there should be a pinned message at the top of the Steam that has like a frequently asked question, because what happens at the moment is that somebody new comes, they say something that has been tackled so many times that the majority of us just fed up of answering it if we respond on Steam. I mean, we can point people towards videos, we can point people towards threads, but at the end of the day, it just needs to be there, readily available for anybody who's new to the game. And I wish it was. So they can just find the basic reading material so they can get their own answers, as opposed to, you know, those days when we're not really in a good mood and we respond quite harshly to a newbie. And as a result, I think the community to the outside is really quite bad on the surface. But as soon as you get into a league, and as soon as you get into a private area where everybody of course is helpful, it's great. But it's very difficult to get people into that part where they're already part of a community where everybody's willing to help, because the first point of contact is usually Steam, and the Steam contact is awful, as most of you know. But my real view about this community is that it is awesome, but you need to get past that first point where you think everybody's kind of an asshole, and when you pass that, it's fine. And that also answers the how can we make it more appealing? And do I feel a bit of guilt betraying your favourite game? We all know what game it is. I think you mean Total War Warhammer, by posting so much stuff about Blood Bowl. No, because I do both. And how on earth do you find the time to do all that awesome stuff? Thank you. I make time, basically. I have a schedule for a reason. I do the recording when I can, and I put it out based on the schedule. So I tend to do 3 or 4 videos together, recording, and I put them out one day at a time. So it looks like I'm working every single day. I'm not really. And there we go, that's it for undo. So, and then we're going on to some Total War stuff, and also the question about lore, which I think is more suitable with Total War. So I'm going to change the background of the game. I'll be back in 1 second. Thank you. Okay, I realized that when I have this game up and I'm not on the screen, it doesn't do the sound or the video. So, well, we'll keep chaos in the background. It looks like a picture, but if I switch screens quickly, you can see that actually it is happening, but I'll try and switch between, but it's going to be kind of clippy, because whenever I go off screen to look at the question and to also answer the question, because I'm going to need some extra information just in case, well, it's a bit troubling, but there we go. Here's chaos in the background. Okay, so the question from Full and Glory, first of all. Who are the Chaos Gods and why are they a thing? Right, the Chaos Gods are present in all Games Workshop titles. Chaos Fantasy, Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40k, and Blood Bowl. Each feature the gods in at least one way or another. There are 4 gods, as you mentioned. Why they're a thing, it's just a fluffy lore reason, I guess. But there are 4 gods. You have Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh. Slaanesh, I don't know how to say it, to be honest. Khorne is the chaos god of bloodlust, of war, of death, and skulls, lots and lots of skulls. Blood for the blood god, skull for the skull god. We're talking about Khorne when we say this. Each of the chaos gods have chosen warriors, and they give their chosen warriors certain mutations that help them in their everyday life. This is more a thing in Warhammer than it is in Blood Bowl, but we do see it in Blood Bowl as well with the Chaos team. In fact, in the Chaos Pack teams I've made, I am going to make a piece that is specific to each of the gods. So the both Chaos teams where we have the Chaos Warriors as options in mixed teams, talking back about Blood Bowl, I'm going to have one for each god, just for a bit of fun. So talking about Khorne, and I've got some information in front of me. I'm going to basically read it out, but it's going to give you the information you need. So, Khorne favours close combat, abhorring wizards, or psychs, considering them cowardly. His dark-tongued name, Kharneth, means the Lord of Blood. Khorne is also the god of courage and honour, but these trappings are always eventually discarded in favour of the primary goal of killing. Basically, when he blesses one of his warriors with the insatiable bloodlust, then everybody who has this ability or this need to kill are a follower of Khorne, even if they don't know it. This is kind of the fluff thing. And he heightens this need for bloodlust, and he can also give you certain skills that help with the bloodlust, taking away your empathy and giving you certain things that can really help you with war. And while he blesses his followers by granting them strength and martial prowess, Khorne does not truly care who spills blood, so long as the blood continues to be spilled. His material form is a mighty being wearing brass armor and sitting in a throne of skulls. There's a thing in the Chaos lore in general that each of the gods actually exist in the real world. Not just the Chaos gods, but all of the gods. They either do exist or they did exist in the past, and it's possible to see them. He has demons, the Bloodletters. The Khorne team is actually a feature of the Bloodletters in Blood Bowl, and Bloodletters are a very big thing in the tabletop. They're not a thing in the Total War game, unfortunately. I would have liked to see a Bloodletter, but it doesn't exist yet. Fleshhounds, the dogs that eat your skin, and Juggernauts. But they're not something you can find apart from on the tabletop. And yes, his followers often use blood for the blood god, skull for the skull throne as their battle cry. That's it for Khorne. Khorne is the most well known, I think. Then we have Tzeentch, the chaos god of change, fate, mutation, hope, and knowledge. Knowledge is the key thing I'm being called. There we go. Fix that. So when we watch the opening to the Total War game, actually, and spoiler coming, so if you haven't finished the campaign yet, don't keep watching for a second. What am I trying to do? Yeah. So there's a one of the main followers of Tzeentch is in the game. You've probably seen him if you have played at all, but let's find him. Warriors of Chaos. Where is he? Ah, he's here. So, Safrael, the Everwatcher. He is the thing that features in the opening video of Total War, and he's a perfect example of what can happen to Tzeentch in the future, Tzeentch followers in the future. He's one of the best known followers of Tzeentch. Tzeentch's followers are powerful sorcerers who prefer to channel the energies of the warp in Warhammer 40,000 or the Winds of Magic in Warhammer Fantasy and Total War Warhammer, at a distance rather than get close to enemies. Tzeentch is always scheming, his every action feeding into his great plots that only he can comprehend. Tzeentch controls and manipulates the fates of all and weaves them intricately into his devious web of manipulation and hunger for power. He has no material form, strangely, but people are made in his image, if you like, with lots of eyes usually, as it constantly shifts and changes. His holy number is 9, and his main enemy god is Nurgle. Those who worship Tzeentch are sorcerers and magicians hungry for knowledge and the pursuit of a greater understanding of the universe. His main demons are the Horrors, his soldiers, flamers and screamers, his beasts, and discs, the flying metal discs. These are all in the tabletop. Also, the Horrors you can find in Mordheim, but you can't find in Total War Warhammer, unfortunately. They're led by avian greater demons called Lords of Change. His realm is described as a maze that constantly shifts and distorts, leading people entering into unimaginable levels of madness. The opening video of Total War Warhammer is a perfect example of a follower of Tzeentch. This guy who is trying to find this extra information, and it drives him insane, and in the end he becomes this. So, that's Tzeentch. This is going to be a really long answer, I'm sorry, but so you asked the question, so I'm going to go through it. And Nurgle. Blood Bowl players, of course, know Nurgle. Nurgle is less featured in Total War Warhammer, if at all, actually. And even in Mordheim, it's not really seen at all, apart from in Blood Bowl, in terms of computer games at the moment. But there is an entire tabletop army dedicated to Nurgle now as well. The Chaos God of Plague, Despair, Disease, and Death. Nurgle is a warm and welcoming god who gifts his followers with poxes and boils, lovely, rashes and sores. His dark tongue name, Nurgluf, means the Lord of Decay. His power comes from the inevitability of death and decay, and Nurgle is often referred to as Grandfather Nurgle. You know, like Grandfather Time or Santa Claus. Yay. The god who just keeps giving. As entropy is the most ancient of forces, and he is the only one who cares for his followers. Nurgle thrives in death and decay, growing more powerful as greater plagues spread, and his servants seek only to spread disease. Nurgle prides himself on the achievements of his followers, gifting them with hideous diseases while sheltering them from pain. And his followers rejoice in their blessings, shrugging off lethality and disfigurement in a state of rapturous undeath. People in sickness might pray to Nurgle for relief, but rather than heal the sick, Nurgle helps them endure their illness by removing their pain and misery, all the while exacerbating their physical degeneration. His physical form is a large blob of putrid sickness, you've probably seen it, and disease. His holy number is 7, and the main enemy god is Tzeentch. Those who worship Nurgle are those suffering and wanting freedom from sickness and pain, unaware that they are rapidly becoming more sick yet feeling less pain. Nurgle welcomes all who desire to worship him. His main demons are the Plague Bearers, the Nurglings, his beasts, and his rot flies. They are led by great demons known as Great Unclean Ones, blah 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 blah. The main difference between the Nurgle in Blood Bowl and the Nurgle... No, forget that. I often have this little feeling that maybe Skaven are secretly also followers of Nurgle, but I don't know if that's something that's well practiced or if it's something that I've just made up and decided it makes sense in my head. Either way, it's a bit of fun. And the last of the gods is Slaanesh, the chaos god of lust, pleasure, desire, and excess in both settings. He is the youngest of the four gods. He is typically considered androgynous, and while he is usually referred to as being male, in the Warhammer 40,000 universe at least, the Eldar races consider him to be female. His dark tongue name is Slaaneth, means the Prince of Pleasure. His followers seek only to indulge in whatever fleeting whims and desires they feel, and they tend to become graceful, beautiful warriors who harbour selfish, cruel souls. In the Warhammer 40k background, he is birthed from the excesses and hedonism of the Eldar society. His birth created a psychic shockwave that spread across the galaxy, killing most of the Eldar population and their gods. The survivors split into various Eldar factions. It has created the largest warp storm in the Milky Way. The Eye of Terror, which later became the main residence of the scattered Chaos Space Marines, the fall of the Eldar Empire paved the way for the rise of the Imperium of Man. In Warhammer Fantasy, or Total War Warhammer for that matter, his followers are partly responsible for the corruption of an important elven leader named Malekith, who is going to be in Total War Warhammer 2, and the subsequent schism that led to the formation of the Dark and High Elf races. His physical form is an androgynous being of the most physical beauty. His holy number is 6, and his main enemy god is Khorne. Those who worship Slaanesh are those who either wish to achieve the most popularity amongst their fellow men or the most ecstatic pleasure beyond imagination. His main demons are the Demonettes, the Fiends, and the Steeds. They are led by the great demons called the Keepers of Secrets, life creatures with unholy beauty. His realm is described to be a massive castle in the middle of 7 circles, each representing one of the classical 7 deadly sins. People cannot make it through without succumbing to some type of flaw. And in the game itself, I think that the only real Slaanesh follower is Sigvald the Magnificent, but he is that. We kind of have Khorne and Archaon. They're both blood for the blood god types. There's not a Nurgle leader at the moment, though this Chaos Lord does look a little bit like he belongs to Nurgle. So in the game it's very much a thing for the gods, and in Blood Bowl 2 it's a small thing as well, because we have the Nurgle team and we have the Chaos team in general. It looks like in the future they're going to add more Chaos pacts. They're all going to be related to one of the gods. So there's the answer about Chaos Gods, I guess. Sorry it took so long, but I hope I answered it in enough detail. In terms of Total War in general, there are a few questions that I keep being asked, or that I want to answer in some cases as well. So, which of the new races in Total War Warhammer 2 are you most looking forward to playing? All of them, especially lizards. I love lizards, and I miss lizards from the main game. I'd like to see them from the main tabletop, sorry. They were one of the 2 armies that I used to collect. Lizards and Beastmen were my 2 main armies. And I'm really looking forward to playing lizards. And I'm looking forward to killing Skaven in all forms. It's not a real Warhammer game until you're killing Skaven. Which race do you currently like the most? Interesting question. Let's have a look. And I think in terms of the way that they play, I definitely like dwarves the most. They suit my playstyle the best. In terms of the fluff, the lore, the tabletop, everything Warhammer related, Beastmen are by far my favourite. They've always been my favourite race in Warhammer, followed closely by lizards. And I also like the greenskins, of course. And Grimgor Ironhide is actually my favourite character in Warhammer. In all of the Warhammer universes. I just really like Grimgor for some reason. In terms of the way the game have developed it, I actually really like what they've done with Norsca. It's an interesting new faction, and I really like some of the pieces they've involved, though they're maybe a little bit overpowered at the moment, to be honest. And the hardest one to play is the Empire, so in terms of playing for challenge, I guess I quite like playing as the Empire as well. I like all the races, to be honest, but that answers my favourite. And I think that the vampires were something that's never been done in a game like this before, so in that regard, I really have a lot of love for the vampire race as well. but it's not anything to do with Total War history or my love for the race itself. It's this game specifically. In this game, I really like the vampires. And I do like undead in general, but these aren't an undead team, they're a vampire team. It's slightly different. And do you think there will be more DLC races? Yes, of course I do. I think that we're likely to see an Amazon race, and I think that we're likely to see a a Khemri race, basically. And we may see other races popping up, but I think those two are going to be the first two, definitely. I'm kind of hoping still that we're going to see Chaos Dwarves, but it looks like they've kind of included it, but not mentioned that they're Chaos Dwarves. And why don't you multiplayer? Because I suck at the game. Is the obvious answer. But I want to start playing multiplayer, and I will be looking for an opponent to multiplayer with soon. So if you are somebody who plays Total War Warhammer, let me know, and we'll get a multiplayer game going. I did have a go against Urban Zorro. In the past, we played the campaign for a bit, and I proved how much I sucked. So, yeah, I'm good at fighting the AI. I'm not so good at fighting other humans, because I don't have experience doing it. So there we go. Boom. Okay. I can't help but watch these videos even now, even though I've seen them 50, 60 times. Wow. Good. So let's put that out of my mind so I'm not confused by it. That's all of the questions that I had this time around, I believe. Just having a quick check. Yeah. I'm going to try and do one of these a week. Maybe every 2 weeks, but I'll try and do one of these a week. If you do have extra questions, then leave them below. That's an option. I will always check the Q&A video comments when I'm making the next Q&A. So if you do have a question, you can leave it below this video. Or you can join my Discord, which is always linked. It's called Coach AD English YT for YouTube though, if you do want to find it yourself. Everybody's welcome to join, as long as you read the rules and accept them, then I'm happy to have you there. If you break the rules, then there are consequences, but generally speaking, it's a pretty free community. So by all means, come and join me. You also get a say in what happens in my future content, and you also have a space specifically to put questions where I will regularly look and answer them in these Q&A videos. Let me know if you like the video in the bottom. I know I'm going to hate it. I'm just not going to watch it. I'm going to put it up as it is. Fuck it. But if you do like the video in the bottom for these videos, then I will consider keeping it. I'm still not going to do it when I'm playing. It's just not going to happen. I don't like watching videos when the person is in the corner. It kind of annoys me. So I'm not going to do it myself, because that would make me hypocritical. But there we go. That's all for this one. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.